Hello, I'm Carla Hayden, the Librarian of Congress, and I am thrilled to be here today with Lupita Nyong'o, an author, Oscar-winning actress, producer, and activist. And we're here to talk about Lupita's #1 New York Times best-selling book for young people, Sulway. It's about a little girl who is unhappy with her looks, but eventually she learns to appreciate her beauty. And I think that's a theme we can all relate to. We all go through periods when we're unhappy with our appearance. So, Miss Lupita, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, my own life inspired me to write this book. When I was young, I was very much like Sulwe. I didn't really like my dark skin. I had a younger sister who was lighter skinned than me, and the people in my world would always coo and caw at how beautiful her light skin was. And it made me believe that my skin wasn't as beautiful because nobody said anything about it. And so I went through a period when I really didn't like myself, and I tried the things that Sulwe tries in the book, like rubbing off my skin and praying for lighter skin. But then when I grew a little older and I started to see people like me on magazines and in TV, people being called beautiful that look like me, it changed my mind about how I felt about my skin. And so I wanted to write a book for kids to learn how to love themselves a little sooner than I did.
Mm. And she even prays to God to ask for a miracle and when she wishes for lighter skin. And could you read that part to us?
Yes. With a stomachache, she went to bed early and turned to God for a miracle. Dear Lord, why do I look like midnight when my mother looks like dawn? Please make me as fair as the parents I'm from. I want to be beautiful, not just to pretend. I want to have daylight. I want to have friends. If you hear me, my Lord, and would like to comply, may I wake up as bright as the sun in the sky. Amen.
Mm. It's heartbreaking to hear that. And you say in your author's notes that you had a similar experience when you were young. And so what changed your mind about yourself?
Well, it was a slow process to learning that I was beautiful just the way I am. But I remember when I was a teenager, this model called Alec Weck came onto the scene, and she was on catwalks, and she went on Oprah, which I watched religiously. And Oprah called her beautiful. And I was stunned because she was as dark as I was, if not darker. And she had a lot of the same features as I did. And here was Oprah, a woman that I adored, who taught me so much, telling me that this woman was beautiful. So it made me think again about how I saw my own skin. And obviously also my mom. My mom always told me I was beautiful, even when I didn't believe her. But I think all those things added together to result in me finding beauty in myself.
And the issue of not being happy with your color of your skin doesn't affect just girls, right? Boys can feel just as awkward, but maybe they don't talk about it. And they call this colorism. So, how would you define it, and how are boys affected too?
I would define colorism as the preference for uh, lighter skin in a nutshell. The idea that someone's skin determines their value to others. And boys experience it too. I have a nephew who uh, has is darker complected than his sister, and he recently said to his mom that he didn't think he was handsome because he was darker. So I think though it's a little more subtle in boys because there's not as much emphasis on what they look like. You know, we're not always. I think girls hear a little bit more. You're so pretty. You're so beautiful, or not. Whereas boys, I think we credit them with other things other than their appearance. So their the effect of colorism can be hidden from us on them.
And I love the words you wrote for this book. I think they're inspirational for all young people. And also the beautiful, beautiful illustrations. Vashti Harrison is the artist. So how did you come to work with her? And did you have an image in your mind about what this beautiful young lady would look like? Or was it an image of the artist?
You know, I knew that I wanted to work with a Black woman. That was my ideal situation because I felt that that would the spiritual intention of this book would be carried through with a Black woman, and a Black illustrator. And I didn't know what I wanted Sulwe to look like. I was open, but I did know that I wanted the artist to have a really, really good grasp of light because this is about brightness. And I wanted someone who could capture the light and the dark in really, really vibrant ways. And I saw Vashti's work on first on Instagram and then on Pinterest. I was creating a Pinterest board to try and figure out what exactly I was looking for, and I just kept coming back to Vashti Harrison's work. So then I thought, well, there she is. Let's try
Mhm.
and get her. Yeah.
And did you interact much with her, Vashti?
You know, in the book world, I learned this was my first book, so I learned a lot in this process. In the world of bookmaking, the writer and the illustrator don't necessarily ever talk to each other. So we don't have a direct connection. We work through the artistic director. But I felt I needed to meet her before we started the whole thing. So we actually had lunch together before she embarked on the book. And we got a good sense of each other. I think that was a really good icebreaker because I wanted her to connect. I just wanted to connect to her spirit, you know? And then we spoke a couple of times as we were making the book. I asked so that she could just, I just wanted to speak directly to her and, you know, hopefully she could hear the uncertainty in my voice and also the curiosity as well. And that could translate into her illustrations. I'm very, very happy I did that.
It seems to have made such a difference too, that interaction, because the book is beautiful. And it makes we want to talk about your childhood. You were born in Mexico City, but you were raised in Kenya. So what's the story behind that?
Well, my father was in self exile in Mexico and he was teaching at a university there. So I was born in their last year there. And then I moved back home before I turned one. Like right after I turned one, we moved back home. So my childhood, all I remember is Kenya. And yeah, but I have this Mexican name. So I always felt like I belonged somewhere else also. And I finally went to Mexico when I was 16 to learn Spanish.
Wow. And then your career in film, if we could just talk a little bit about that. You won an Academy Award for your very first film, 12 Years a Slave. So, how did winning an Oscar for your first film, what did that mean?
Ooh, winning an Oscar for my first film was extremely exciting, also extremely scary
Mm.
because it meant that I had somehow reached the pinnacle of my career at the very beginning. And I worried that I didn't know where do you go from here, you know? If I've already gotten the biggest award, what do I do with the rest of my career? And I found myself really doubting my own skills, you know, and my ability to stay on top. But what I quickly discovered is that I had to continue to allow myself to risk failure because it was that attitude that got me the 12 years a slave job to begin with. And so I needed to reacquaint myself with that kind of daring um, way of living and not worrying about what people think of me and recommitting to how much I love acting and getting back to that.
Hmm. I don't know how many of our listeners saw that film, but I have no doubt that millions of young people have seen your wonderful performances in Star Wars and Black Panther. And if you could tell a little bit about your experience playing the spy in Black Panther. You even learned a new language, I hear.
I did. I had to learn Korean for that film, which was a challenge I didn't know I would have to face in my life. Um, and I also had to learn a new accent as well for it. It was a lot of fun to be in Black Panther, I have to admit, because we knew we were doing something different and something that had the potential to really resonate with the culture. And now we see how it has shifted the culture in so many ways. And it's a really humbling thing to recognize the power of the work you do as a storyteller, as an actor, and what a ripple effect it can have in the world.
And speaking of a ripple effect, do you have plans to write another book for young people? Because your first time with this has been such a success.
Well, I really enjoyed the process of writing Sulwe. It was not easy. It took me a very long time to write a very short story. But it was worth it. I love what what all the sweat and tears yielded. And so, yes, I do want to write more for young readers and children.
Well, good, because with this, we're running out of time, and I just have to thank you, though, for spending so much time with us right now, because I've enjoyed our conversation. And before I conclude, I want to tell everyone that your book has received recognition from the Children's Africana Book Awards. And if you go to the link here, you'll see all of the award winners. So thank you again, Lupita. Thank you for bringing this story to light.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been an honor.